Hello, hello. And I am so thrilled to be here tonight. I am Patricia Bell, and this is the Lilydale Astrology Cafe, which I am blessed to be able to invite some of the best astrologers. But tonight I have one of my particular favorite, loving, fabulous astrologer. I mean, if you have ever met or seen Nadia Shah, you are going to know this is a woman with a heart as big as her whole body. Her kindness, her generosity. You walk into one of her classes, you are seen, you are known, and you are cared for. And I am so beyond blessed to have her as a friend and so thrilled that she would be with us tonight that I am not going to say anymore because I want you to hear it from her about how the magic of astrology, when and how it touched her life. I mean, she's done so much. So I'm just turning it over to my beautiful, beautiful Nadia.
Yay, my beautiful, beautiful Patricia. Thank you for having me at the cafe.
So tell us, what was the feeling, the moment that opened your heart to astrology?
Wow. I think I was always open to it, right? Like it's one thing to learn the language, it's another thing to be open to it. But I do know that like all my life I didn't know them personally, but I knew that there were, many generations of esoteric practitioners in my lineage. I grew up with some of those stories. And then when I was growing up, my family on both sides, especially the women on both sides, were really into like astrologers and psychics and things. And then when I was 14, I sort of like very unexpectedly, synchronistically, was hired to work a fair that happens here in Canada every summer for 3 weeks, the last 3 weeks of summer. It's called the CNE. And they have this job fair. I don't know if they still have it, but back then they used to have this job fair. And basically, they would have all these tables, and you'd interview and you'd get hired on the spot for different roles. And someone sort of hired me on the spot, and I didn't know for what. And it turned out it was to read palms. And it was literally
Wow.
like those 3 weeks, I was reading palms, 50 to 75 palms a day for 3 full weeks. And people kept telling me I was good. After those 3 weeks were over, like anytime I'd go out to gatherings, my mom would be like, she reads palms, she reads palms. So people would put their hands in my face, and I hated it. And then I remember around that time, family started giving me astrology books and tarot stuff, mostly astrology at first. The tarot stuff, putting a tarot deck in my hand, that came when I was 19. But I was 14 at the time, and I started getting all these astrology books. And they were like, "Oh, you're going to be good at this. I think you'll be good at this." And then a tarot deck at 19, and at 19 I also got my very first like printout chart printout, like a from the new age store, right? It was like the solar fire description of your chart, and it just opened something up in me like, oh my god, this is me, this is me. And it just grew, the love just grew and grew, and it was very organic, like before university I remember working at Walmart and doing charts of people behind the behind the registers of my fellow associates. And then eventually people started offering to pay me $10 to do a reading when I was working at a call center while I was in university. And yeah, just very organically, it just grew from there.
So this was part of your destiny.
I think so. Don't you think that it chooses you? Stuff like the things that we
Absolutely.
do. Yeah, it resonates from other lifetimes and it comes forward now. It's not like, becoming an engineer or whatever. When I went to graduate school and I was taking cultural cosmology and divination, And so I remember, like, when you first arrived, because it was in England and there's lots of international students, and everybody's like, oh, where are you from? What are you studying? And so I would talk to students, and especially the South Asian students, right? Everybody was like engineering, and things like that, computers and stuff. And then they would say to me, like, what are you studying? And I would tell them. And the one thing I would hear again and again is, why would you study that? And it was like, I get it. They didn't get it. They didn't see it. But I just always felt like that was part of my destiny. Like that was part of my path as an astrologer. So yeah, I think it chooses you. Like, if it's something you're meant to do and follow.
Was there any particular moment that you felt astrologically that gave you a sense of confirmation or about your connection to the stars?
What happened was, so astrology was always there. It was always something that, I did or loved or could do. And then I went through a very, very hard time. So I had my solar, I had my Saturn return at the same time that Pluto conjuncted my moon. And the moon is the chart ruler. So, and Saturn is in the first house. So, all of that is to say, I just plunged into a dark night of the soul. It was incredibly difficult. My friends say, like, it was like a year where it was like I was gone. It was like they were like, you were there, but it was like you weren't there. Like you were just, I was numb. I was in so much pain. I was in so much grief. Oh, I don't want to get emotional with you here, but astrology was there for me. Like it was there. It gave me a lot of hope. And on the other side, I remember like what really made me come out, what let me know it was over, even though the aspects weren't over, but what let me know the dark night of the soul was over was when I went full time into astrology. And I launched my website, Full Time Astrology, September 1st, 2006. So I'm coming up
Wow.
to 20 years as a full time astrologer. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, Nadia, you have this loving heart, so much so that you opened up an entire university and have written books to allow people to know themselves, heal their pain, and to find a community because your YouTube channel has been on forever, I think. How long has your YouTube channel been on?
It's been on since 2008. And yeah, it was
Okay.
2008. I mean, I don't even remember seeing other astrologers there at the time, really. Like, there were a few of us that kind of started around the same time, very few of us. And it wasn't like a career. It wasn't like anything we looked at, or I can't speak for other people. For myself, it wasn't, it was just, I felt like I had something to share and I was going to share it and I was going to do it. And this was a way I could do it. And yeah, it just continued to grow. Like I was doing first, I just did like the occasional videos. And then I remember getting the message really clearly to expand that. And what I wanted to do was interview astrologers that and other people that I really admired in New Age astrology and New Age spirituality. You were one of those people at the early phase of that. And then I remember like there was talk, somebody had reached out to me. There was talk of me, like I had gotten a production deal to, record a pilot and maybe have a show. And it was awful. It was an awful experience because they had a very different vision of what it should be than me. And so I wanted to do like who I am, right? I wanted to do like horoscopes and interview people who do this kind of thing. And they wanted a South Asian lifestyle show, basically, and it was just, they had me going to like events and things to record and talk to vendors and stuff. And it just was not, it didn't feel right. And every time, every pilot, they were like, do it again, do it again. They rejected it. And I remember having a moment when it was like, this isn't it. Like, this isn't working. And I was so devastated. So, what was happening in my chart at the time? I'll tell you, it was wild. Jupiter was trining my Neptune. Jupiter was transiting the 10th, moving towards my Jupiter return, but first trined my Neptune. And it just seemed like in a moment, so many dreams were able to about to come true. And so right around the same time, I was writing daily horoscopes for some Canadian newspapers, and my agent was like, I'm about to sign this huge deal. You know, your income is going to quadruple. You're going to be in newspapers all over the world. And at the same time, I'd gotten this production deal, and it was like, okay, this is happening. And I remember how like both things sort of fell apart right around the same time. The deal didn't go through, and then this, the pilots, it was just so wrong. I was exhausted by the end of it. And I didn't know what to do. So I just booked a trip because I have a Sag moon. That's what I do. And I remember when I took the trip and I was interviewing people along the way. And that was when it became really clear, right with Jupiter conjunct my Jupiter in the 10th. It was like, YouTube, this is it. Go all in. Do for me what I want to do. Like, don't wait for other people. Don't wait for permission. Don't know. I have something to share. This is the vision I have, and I'm going to do it, and I'm going to make it happen. And to just, and it was right around that time I started doing monthly horoscopes. And then a couple of years after that, I was contacted by a TV station in Toronto, TV1 Canada, and they wanted a weekly segment, astrology. So I was just doing horoscopes as part of one of their flagship shows. And I did that for a year, the weekly horoscopes. And then that brought weekly horoscopes to my channel. And I think like so many amazing things have come about in my life, in my career, thanks to YouTube. Like YouTube ended up really being the thing that helped me to blossom and welcome in all kinds of opportunities and to have an amazing life, really. So yeah, that it's been a journey and it continues.
Well, we're blessed to have you on the Lilydale Astrology Cafe, which will be on YouTube.
Yes.
So please, let's talk astrology.
Let's
And
do
can
it.
we talk about some of these eclipses? I know that the eclipse that happened in Buffalo was very powerful. It was an Aries eclipse,
Yeah.
and that I know it touched me. I was in Buffalo for that eclipse, and it was just amazing because I found myself in a place where it was deeper than just a solar eclipse.
Mm, yeah. Um, I was in Niagara Falls. And yeah, that's exactly it. It was my first time experiencing a total solar eclipse. And I was like, I get it. I get why people are eclipse chasers. I get why people love this. It is so magical. I mean, it is something, I get it, like how ancient people would see an eclipse and they would feel like everything changed or they would feel fear. But then that sun is reborn and everything looks different. Everything feels different. It was absolutely phenomenal. And yeah, it was a very special experience. That was 2004, wasn't it? April of 2004.
2024, and it was on April 8th, and it was in Aries. And the reason I bring it up is because we're having Neptune in Aries and Saturn in Aries, and we
Yeah.
just had an eclipse in Aquarius, which had Neptune and Saturn in Aries. And it's as though I don't know, the universe is telling us some sort of story.
Yeah, isn't it? Like, look, eclipses in general are beginnings, in some cases, like dramatic beginnings, unexpected beginnings, especially with this eclipse that just occurred at February 17, at the solar eclipse in Aquarius, and it was square Uranus. And that is like a very jarring energy. Um, and so, yeah, I think there is a sense of beginnings, but also a lot of independent energy with this, right? Like, where do I actually belong? Where do I not? With whom do I belong? With whom do I not? What do I have to say? I think that's a big part of air energy as well. And I think there's a lot of truth with this eclipse that's been happening. Now, we have another eclipse coming up. I think by the time this publishes, the eclipse will be like right around the time that this publishes in the first days of March. And that's a very different eclipse because it's in Virgo and it is sextile Jupiter. It is a very different energy. And so my hope is that helps us to manifest something that feels more optimistic, right? A lot more optimistic. Mercury will be retrograde at that time, which rules Virgo. So it'll be interesting. And this particular Mercury retrograde is is making a series of trines to Jupiter. It's actually a very fortunate retrograde. It's one of these retrogrades where it's like the opportunities we thought came and went or that we lost, they might come back around and they might be even better than what we thought they were going to be or what they were before. And so I think there's a lot of hope, but it's almost like first you got to get honest with yourself and kind of shake yourself free of some story, some lie, so that you can actually, welcome in something that feels very genuine, very authentic, um, and a lot more hopeful. That's the story I'm seeing, at least for these eclipses.
Well, I agree with you
Mhm.
completely. Of course, I've done some Chinese or Oriental astrology, and that eclipse with the fire horse. I just like to share quickly the myth.
Yeah.
The myth of the fire horse was that the Jade Emperor wanted to get to heaven. And so he called upon the horse that could take him from earth to heaven. So here you
Mm.
understand, wow, this horse is very powerful. Why did the horse come in seventh on this zodiac track? Well, it turns out the horse could be very generous and always allowed people to get on their back. So this time they let the rabbit get on their back and the snake. Well, the rabbit, unfortunately, when it's not in its highest and best place, is filled with fear. And so the fearful rabbit took the horse down the wrong path. So after the rabbit finally realized its fear, it jumped off the horse's back and came to Buddha Nirvana as the fourth animal. Well, the snake was still there, and the snake took the horse through the dark woods, and it kept the horse from getting to Buddha Nirvana. Well, finally, the snake knew they were close after they went through the dark woods and came in sixth, and therefore the horse came in seventh. But Buddha looked at the snake and said, "This good steed, you led them through the dark woods, reminding them of all the hardship that they had carried, which prevented them from getting here. So, snake, you shall always remain six, so that before people are able to enjoy the horse, they will shed themselves of the obstacles that prevent them to getting to spiritual involvement." And I think this is thrilling because I see in my heart and mind that we're really on a path of spiritual evolution,
Yeah. Amazing.
isn't it?
Yeah.
And that, so here we are looking at this consciousness of community and who do we belong to, and asking ourselves, because that Uranus is in Taurus, about the body, right? And then we get to Virgo, which is going to ask us about another earthly aspect of ourselves. But I love the Mercury retrograde, don't you?
Yeah,
In
I do.
Pisces at the next eclipse.
It's Pisces, yes, and Pisces is the next eclipse in the summer, right? That takes place. But um, yeah, I think that there's so much to look forward to. So yeah, if we're talking about the next series of eclipses, we are going to have August 12th is the solar eclipse, and then the 28th is the lunar eclipse. So that lunar eclipse will be Pisces, but first we get to have a very special eclipse that you and I will be enjoying together, universe willing, because it's going to be visible in parts of northern Spain, parts of northern Portugal as well. And that is an eclipse that is trine Saturn, is trine Saturn. It is a solar eclipse, a total solar eclipse. That really is like eclipse the past when you get that total solar eclipse. What are you looking forward to with that?
Well, I look at that eclipse and it's got an Aries Dwad and an Aries Decant.
Yeah.
So here we are back to Saturn and Aries and Neptune and
Yeah.
Aries. And
Yeah.
I think that Leo, this eclipse in Leo, is about our joy, about our passion. And it's like if we got tripped up by anything along the way, we have an opportunity, I think, to look at the foundation of who we are,
Mm.
to really, to thy own self be true
Yeah. Yeah.
with joy. And, there is joy amongst this. And yes, we have had lots of bumps in the road, and I believe we'll have more,
Yeah.
but
It's part of the world we've co-created, the bumps.
exactly.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah.
we look at people who bring us joy. We look at the music, we look at the sound, we look at the people that are willing to put love in front of hate. And
Yeah.
this is, to me, some of the most exciting stuff that's going on, because it's really asking us all, do you really want to love? Is that what's, because the fire horse is about, fire in Chinese medicine is about the heart.
Mm.
So really, what's in your heart?
Yeah.
And can you let go of your fear or the obstacles of the past to be in your heart? So by the time that we get to this phenomenal eclipse in Spain, that you knew and know that you're part of that joy
Mm.
because you chose it.
Yeah.
That's what I want to choose. And I know that's how you live your life, Nadia. And that's, probably one of the greatest reasons that I think you touch so many people, because they feel your joy and you remind them they are superstars. You remind them of their place in the heavens. So I think it's a momentous time in history. I think that those of us who are blessed enough to have astrology on our side, um, as you talked before, no matter what we go through, uh, astrology can be a roadmap for us.
Yeah. It really can. And it can awaken us or remind us of something within ourselves that hopefully is kind, is loving, is wise. it is it's such a gift, isn't it, to remember that we're not these like isolated little laws unto ourselves, that we're connected to a higher wisdom. Like that in and of itself, that affirmation, however quiet, it's so valuable.
Absolutely, that we have these cosmic connections,
Yeah.
as you have said in your book, but that we really do.
Mhm.
And that um, part of the blessing as we look at these eclipses, or as we look at Neptune in Aries and Saturn in Aries. Talk to me. Tell me how you feel about those two buddies coming, kissing one another
Oh
on a world
gosh.
point.
At a world point at 0 Aries, I mean, talk about a divine reset, right? Talk about a new beginning, fresh energy, new energy coming in. I think it's super exciting, like how much is brand new and what we might see in ourselves about where it is that we might want to own our power or begin again or claim sacred um the ability to harness one's free will, to use your free will as you feel inspired to. It is a privilege, and we forget sometimes that it is a privilege that not everybody gets. And what an amazing privilege to be able to say, you know what, I want to go that way. I'm going to do what I can to go that way because that's what I feel called towards, because that's what I want to. I'm going to determine that. And of course, you want to stay open and stay listening at the same time. But I think a lot of us are going to be saying to ourselves, you know what? I'm alive right now. I'm gonna do what I can with this. I'm reminded of I'm a person of a lot of faith, and I do believe like the soul lives and continues to live. And I do feel, I remember as a very small child, just feeling like my soul had already been everywhere, right? Like I had been every type of person, I had been everywhere on this planet. But I remember thinking to myself, that's a matter of faith, and I have faith in that. But I want to know that I was actually there. I want to know by doing it all in this lifetime. I want the passport stamps. I'm going to live. I want to do it all. And what an incredible thing to be able to, right? What an incredible thing to be able to. I'm reminded of a friend I knew many years ago, and she was telling me about, she was like my mom's age basically, and she was telling me about her parents, and she was saying that her father was like really artistic and really dreamy, and her mother though was very ambitious and really intelligent. But at the time, um, women were not really accepted into universities. So the mom really wanted to be a lawyer, but that really wasn't much of an option. And so um, the mother encouraged the father to go to law school, even though that wasn't really what he was about. But he did, he went, he got in, he became a lawyer. And so she was telling me about how when she was a little girl, she would see like they had a home office and clients and people would come and they would sit there and she would be sitting there like as if she was the secretary, the mom would be with a pen and everything, and they would be telling the father, thinking he's the lawyer, telling him the problem, and she's taking notes, and she would be the one who would end up doing all the work. She would be the one. But she was telling me about how she saw her mom so deeply frustrated because she was never able to get the recognition that she knew she should be able to get. And that's what I mean when I say what a privilege it is for us to be able to say, hey, I want to work towards that. I want to make that happen. I want to go in that way. And to be able to, for at least I would say more of us than ever before in human history can say, I want that, and be able to take steps in that direction, regardless of what happens with it. And so I think that's going to be part of what more and more people are claiming for themselves. But I think it's very possible that we will see more places in the world than ever before where people get to do that, where maybe before that wasn't always an option.
That's absolutely significant because when you look back at the 1800s,
Mhm.
there was a young woman who wanted to become a doctor. And that was when Uranus was in Taurus.
Mhm.
And here we are again with Uranus and Taurus squaring this consciousness of, you know, 28 Aquarius saying, okay, you can move on, but we're not letting you forget that this opportunity for women is particularly significant.
Wow.
And I also think that the eclipse, on March 3rd being in Virgo, that's the one of the female planets in the zodiac, which is also saying to us, you know, it's not just about the physicality of being a woman, it's the feminine inside each and every one of us.
Mm.
And it's like you have already spoken. How do we co create?
Yeah. Right. And Virgo is like earth goddess, isn't it? It's such an earth
Mhm.
goddess energy. It's now if I remember correctly, um it Beyonce has a lot of like Virgo and Libra energy in her chart. Like, and to me, she embodies that. That's exactly like when I look at her, that's what I see. I see a Virgo earth goddess, but then also that the ability to be restrained enough that we find with Libra, somebody with strong Libra energy, um, to be classy in that way, but to be so embodied, to be so undeniably feminine, to look like she can create with her body and her soul and her mind and her skills. And I think that's part of what Virgo represents. It's that ability to create on so many different levels.
With the level of beauty,
Yeah.
with the
Yeah.
level of beauty. And the beautiful part about Beyonce is that her mother helped create the beauty for her
Yeah,
with her
that's so
clothing
true.
and things like that. And
Yeah.
even in your story, it is the women in your lineage. And here we are going through recreating ourselves. And I believe that it's going to be a new time of birthing, and that everybody is going to have to birth their feminine so they can create their path.
Yeah.
And that
Yeah.
can be so, disconcerting for some who are very stuck in a one system, but how liberating can it be for, I'm mother of sons, that boys could cry now.
Yeah. Isn't it wonderful? Isn't it wonderful? That
How
is a freedom, a
right.
necessary
And
freedom.
that
Yeah.
even with your father, that being an artist could be more revered than being a lawyer. I
Hmm.
mean,
Hmm.
isn't that the divine feminine in him too?
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I've seen pictures of your family, and your father looks like quite a jolly guy. And my
He's got,
dad was in the restaurant business,
yeah.
and he got to be able to do a job that was considered welcoming and feminine and relationship oriented.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
uh,
And like my dad has a whole stellium in Leo with his sun conjunct Pluto in Leo. So I mean, he really does embody that undeniable Leo energy. Yeah. The big heart.
so here we come to this eclipse coming in Leo. I
Yeah.
mean, you grew up with it. You know how creative it can be, and obviously determined.
Yeah.
Uh, and passionate.
Yes. Romantic. We forget that, right? With the Leo energy. And this, because it's a total solar eclipse, it has that much more magic to it. Here's something interesting. I don't have the charts in front of me, but I will say this. We have this really rare phenomenon that starts this year because normally we get a total solar eclipse every 2 or 3 years. And what's happening starting with this eclipse, we're going to have each year one after the other for 3 years. The first two, the one that we will be going to this year in 2026 and in 2027, it's all like Spain, dipping into Egypt, but it is the final one that happens that is going to be in Australia, among other places. And I think this is so fascinating because it is as if the universe is really saying, eclipse the past, isn't it? Get a whole other look, get a very different look, go forward. Now, they're already selling a lot of like vacation packages to Egypt because it's going to be right over Luxor. So I know some people are going to do that. I will likely be in Spain for the next one too, just like with this year, next year, most likely. And what's so fascinating is when we think about like what symbolizes the ancient world, what symbolizes it more than ancient Egypt? And so, talk about eclipsing the past. It'll be so fascinating to see what new beginnings come individually, but also for the collective as well. For Canada, though, think about this for Canada. This was, just around the time just before we had the phenomenon of our prime minister leaving, but then a new leader of his party came in, and that he was part of this huge turnaround and was able to have his party continue. But what was really fascinating is when this new leader came in, Mark Carney, who is now prime minister, when he had his acceptance speech, the one thing he said, one of the first things he said is, the world that we knew before no longer exists. We cannot return to that. And it really felt like, again, eclipsing the past. And that's been such a key characteristic of his, of the legacy he is creating in real time right now. He did this huge speech at a big conference, and it was about that too. It was a little bit like, you know what, we're on our own. It's a different world now. And I think it is so interesting to see how these eclipses show up in the collective, how they show up in terms of world events. And then there's always that personal layer to them as well.
Well, as you speak about it, as yes, the past is gone. We have shed the skin. We're shedding the skin, and there is going to be a new world coming, so to speak. And these eclipses are downloading to each and every one of us the consciousness to be able to walk into the new world. Now, we have been conditioned by our past, by the way we were raised, everything. But now we're opening up to a whole new consciousness. And it's one eclipse after another that is, and when it's solar, it is a consciousness aspect.
Wow.
So here we are, and it's going to be wow,
Yeah.
whether it's the one that happened over Antarctica or whether it's going to be the one that's in Spain or in Egypt or in Australia. Is Australia in 2028?
Yes.
Okay, well,
I'll be there.
okay, I may just join you. I
Yeah,
love
yeah.
eclipses
Yeah. Yeah, me too. I love eclipses.
because, if you could, and this is how I see it, and many Buddhists do too. If you talk to them, what do you do during an eclipse? they ask you to allow this download from the universe to affect you.
Mm, mm,
And I mean, if we can download on the computer and our phones, I'm ready to elevate that spiritual consciousness
mm.
in which we're being initiated into,
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
we've
How
already
exciting.
had, but
Yes.
sometimes
Yes.
we fall asleep and we
Yeah.
get distracted and we stop believing who we truly are.
Yeah. Yeah. And then we get moments where we're reminded, where it's like really undeniable. And I think that's a big part of what eclipses represent too. Like finally seeing it and not lying to yourself, like just being really honest with yourself, especially with the lunar eclipses. Now, it's interesting because I know we're going ahead to the total solar eclipse, but the eclipse that's happening in early March of 2026, it will be visible in much of North America. It is a lunar eclipse, but think about that. It's a different symbol where you said, the sun is consciousness. The moon is the truth of what we feel, like being honest with ourselves about what we really feel about things, and where it is, like something doesn't feel right, or something feels like the direction we need to go in, whether it makes sense or not. And I think that is going to be part of an important awakening or a shift that might be happening. And I think that when you are in a place, and especially if you like actually live there and spend a lot of time there, where the eclipses are visible, they might be more relevant to world events in that area. There's that theory.
Oh, I believe it's true
Yeah, yeah.
because even where there was the X between the last two in Caryville, Texas, that's when the flood happened.
Wow. Yeah.
And if I have noticed, because uh, maybe I hadn't shared with you before, I love being an eclipse chaser.
Mm.
I've been to Helsinki, I've been to Kauai, I've been to a lot of places because energetically it touches your heart and your soul.
Yeah.
And I know we're going to be in Spain, and I do hope that we get to share exactly how it is that has touched us. And, maybe people can tap into us as well
Yeah. Yeah.
through this.
I'm always up for meeting for hugs. I'm always
Yes.
up for it. Yeah. Yeah.
And, we've discussed that this eclipse is on the Compostela de Santiago, the
Yeah.
way of St. James. And the way of the Compostela, the Camino, whatever you want to call it, yes, it does have a very Catholic connotation. But technically, when you go back to the Celts and others, you will find out that it was the way of the stars.
Mm. Mm.
So here is this eclipse in Spain
Wow.
on the path of the way of the stars.
Wow.
Uh, Whether it's the Pleiades or Sirius, it's like, to me, it's wow,
Yeah.
because, that 28 degrees of Taurus is also connected to the Pleiades.
Mm.
And there's just, it's like, all right, everybody get ready.
Yeah.
I mean, we are in for an upgrade, just like our computers.
Yeah. Yeah. It's exciting. It'll be great to share it with you.
Yes. And having been this time here with you is great to share. So, as we start to wind down a little bit, tell us what you're doing now. First of all, I would please, please, please talk to us about Synchronicity University. Please give them the titles of your books. Please let them
Oh,
know how they can get a hold of you. They can find me in Lilydale or at patriciabell.net, but they
oh,
don't know how to find our beautiful Nadia. So please
I
let
so
them know.
appreciate you. So let me show you. I'll show the audience very quickly here, if I may. Um, so this is the school, Synchronicity University. And what a privilege to share it with people. We've got these amazing programs coming up. I'm one of many teachers who presents at Synchronicity University. And our really big thing is like really making quality astrological education accessible to the masses. And as part of that, we have what's called Choose Your Tuition Rate. And so if you go, so I'll give you an example here. We have the amazing, right, living legend, one of our living legends, Stephen Forrest, coming up. And so here's the program. But just to show you, there's some add ons here. You literally can choose how much you want to pay to take the course, from $25 all the way up to $250. And that's the big thing. Like, I just love, it's the Aquarian in me that wants, for whatever it is I do, to be for people and to be able to reach people. So people get a chance at this school to be able to learn from really some of the best astrologers in the world, including yourself, who's previously taught at the school as well. So that was such a treat to have you there. For my books, they're really available wherever books are sold, on Amazon in particular, but here it is, Synchronicity Publications. There I am, hugging one of my books. And you get lots of, we've got 6 books. I have 6 books so far. And if you buy them directly through synchronicitypublications.com, well, that is when you get some bonuses from me. But like I said, you can get them wherever books are sold. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to share those with your audience
Well,
and with people.
as we started in this interview, I opened with the fact about your consciousness of wanting to share and how, your heart is as big as your whole body, because this is who Nadia is and who is the Nadia I dearly love and respect, because I know that you're on a path of helping those elevate themselves to their highest and best.
Thank
And,
you.
what a beautiful journey. What
Yeah.
a beautiful journey. Thank you for my dear friend. Thank you for spending this time with all of us. And I'm sure we're going to see each other again uh,
Yes.
sooner than we think. August is right around the corner.
Yes. I will see you very soon. We will be hugging in person. And thank you again for sharing me with the Lilydale community. I spoke there 10 years ago. Can you
I
believe it?
know.
10 years ago. And so, how wonderful to have this reconnection now. So, thank you, Patricia.
Well, maybe we'll get you back again another
Yeah.
year.
Yeah.
Okay. I know you're busy this year, but maybe we'll grab you and your suitcase another time.
Yeah, for
Thank
sure.
you. Thank you. Thank you.
Mwah. Thank you. Thanks, everybody. Bye.